Hey everyone, Zaraz here from Casuals. Today I want to talk about the upcoming update for the new KvK format being introduced to Call of Dragon, as well as compare it a little bit to how similar it is to Rise of Kingdom and give you an idea of exactly what to expect from the future of Call of Dragons. Now, this Calling of Courage patch is going to introduce a lot of the new KvK mechanics, so I'm going to go through some of them as well as relate to my, I think, 8 years of Rise of Kingdom experience to see exactly what is going to be similar and what is going to be different, which, to be honest, barely anything seems different. It's almost the exact same thing as Rise of Kingdom so far. So we're going to have a new map, which is going to be very interesting, as it is going to have a little bit of a difference from what we're used to. You can see the zones all the way up here, and most likely this is going to be the middle final zones, kind of what we're expecting, and then everybody kind of starts around. It could be obviously a little bit different, but this is not going to make much of a difference. Once we see the map, we'll have to study it. The biggest thing here is going to be that there should be, or hopefully won't be, any advantage to a starting zone, as we've seen a few seasons ago that this has created a huge advantage for some sides to win when you have a shorter path to Dragon than the other places, the starting zone. So I hope that they fix that issue, as that was a big problem in the previous seasons. Now, mastery skills. This is actually very fun and can create some insanely overpowered combos, which could sometimes twist the entire meta of the game, as making cavalry decent or making infantry even more OP, or certain mage march or certain marksman march could have superpower potential. Even sometimes epic heroes come back into play because of how strong some of the skills stack with each other. So how does this exactly work? Well, you will be going into the world and doing random quests. So like this: defeat level 45 Darkling patrols times 20. Once you do it, you get this reward, which is a currency. And then when you get enough of these Stone Testament currency, you will be able to basically get some mastery skills. Now, these mastery skills, they're basically going to allow you to go to a hero and switch one of her or his skill and make it something from another hero. So you can see it here, it's a little bit explained, but to make it even more obvious, for example, you could go on Lilia and be, I want to replace this skill. Now, in your pool of available skill, which are usually determined by the devs, you will have options. Now, obviously, this is garbage. It doesn't serve any purpose in the game after a certain time, which means that if you replace it, for example, with something like this compound interest from Bertrand, this would make Lilia absurdly OP. Now, it doesn't mean that this will be one of the choices. Often they go with some of the skills that are least used, or, you know, you could get some skills from Waldair that gives hero skill damage dealt bonus. You could apply this to Lilia. You could also get some of these other skills, shields. You could get something from Atheus. You could get some things even from Ilyana, which her skills are not terrible. They're just the hero is a bit weak. For example, this one, take 30% less normal attack damage. This, if you apply it to a Garrison, for example, or a Rally, this is insane amount of value. So you can see here where you can play around. Now, you don't have infinite choice. The game decides for you the skills that you are kind of allowed to put onto your new heroes. There is usually quite a lot of them to choose from, maybe a dozen, maybe 20 different heroes. It picks one skill at random from them, and then you can apply that to your own heroes and make them even better, making them stronger. You could transform some marches into rally marches or garrison marches that they weren't before because of a skill, or make them even really OP at the rallies and stuff like that. So this adds some interesting mechanics, and we will see it in the game. This is exactly the same as Rise of Kingdom. When the first few seasons started, this was one of the mechanics. It still exists right now in one of the format of KvK and Rise of Kingdom, but it's not in every format. But this was how it was for the first like 2 or 3 years of me doing KvKs. When KvKs just came out, this was one of the mechanics, and I did quite enjoy it because it would create some really powerful combos and allow some heroes that were less good to have kind of like a spot or shine with certain skills. So it is something that I find pretty interesting. Now, next we have the new season building and Alliance Siege Bastion. Now, this is a very weird, intricate building because it could be many things, and it could change the entirety of Call of Dragons as we know it and make everything we know completely obsolete, because I don't exactly know how it's going to work, but this is acting like a tower. It expands your territory. It also attacks enemy alliance buildings, obviously with the cannons, kind of like when you upgrade a tower to a siege tower, it kicks off enemy buildings. And from what I can gather from the English in their patch notes, it seems to say it attacks enemy towers, so it might reduce their durability and eventually destroy their buildings, meaning that it's a big threat. But the biggest thing about it is that you can garrison it. So just like a keep, people can put troops inside of it, and then they will obviously have to be dislodged in order to remove this Alliance Siege Bastion. So there is not an exact answer for that yet, as far as I know, but I think this means that we might see a rally and garrison meta appear into Call of Dragons, and this creates everything different, because the entire game is going to be shifted on its head if that is the case, because it really changes everything about the game, since rallies and garrisons are a huge part of Rise of Kingdom, and basically the only meaningful part of Rise of Kingdom, as open field really has really little value when rally and the garrison aspects were implemented, which was from the beginning. So really, it's going to be very interesting to see. This will create a lot of differences in the game. You'll have garrison heroes and rally heroes have much more power and much more important, as well as countering unit types, and having the open field so that you can reinforce is where the open field comes into play. So we'll have to see exactly what it looks like when it comes into the game, but be ready, as this could change everything you know about your account. Some of the heroes that people thought were not good might become completely OP, especially with the skill switching. So we'll have to see exactly what it looks like, but a very big change that could really transform the game in a very bad way or in a very good way, depending, because obviously rally and garrison meta is one of the biggest downsides of Rise of Kingdom currently. So I don't think that having too much of it in Call of Dragons is going to be good, but a little bit of it would be interesting, as it would be obviously a part of the game that we completely don't see at all right now. So I'm excited to see what it looks like. Now, season policies, those are going to be new, but probably not so new. There's obviously some things here that are a bit different, but again, it's a lot of the same boost. You get these three, the healthcare diligence and stuff, where obviously many players zeroed their entire account by picking the terrible healthcare diligence last season. Hopefully it's been switched a little bit, but this is going to be, pretty similar to what we used to, with a small few little changes and buffs. They've also buffed resource healing quite a bit by reducing the cost of it and making it you can heal much more troops. So there's very interesting things happening on that side. Now, the Ossuary kind of tells me that the rally and garrison meta is going to be part of this game, because the only way in this game currently to lose troops is by swarming cities or rallying passes. Now, this makes it so that at the end of a KvK, you get 50% of your dead troops back, so that you don't lose them permanently. The only way to get so many troops back is going to be by doing rallies and doing garrisoning. So this is kind of telling me that this is coming into the game. So this is a nice mechanic, because it makes it less costly to go into full out war, wipe your account. Then after war, at least you have like half your account back, and then you can rebuild from there. You don't have to start from scratch. So this is a very interesting change. Very weird to be added in this game currently. Again, we'll see what it entails, but this means be ready to lose a lot of troops if this is coming into the game. And if you lose 2 million troops, you're not going to get 23 million back. So I don't know what the hell this is, but whatever. Now, the two new heroes that are coming in the first season of Strife are Urag and Tobin. Now, they're cavalry, so most likely are going to be very niche and only usable by a few players. Open field fighting when you're catching reinforcements, catching running players, catching supply lines, things like that. Sure, they have a use. Rally wise, if rally is a meta, there is going to be a very big need for rallies. So this is going to be, hopefully Tobin is going to be a very strong rally hero. Cavs are always a good rally troop because they're very fast and they counter marksmen and do quite well against mages as well. But obviously infantry being their counter, it's going to mean that infantry garrison are going to become the meta. So this is, there is potential for them to be good, but infantry is so powerful and so prevalent in the game right now that I would say that in most cases, cavalry are really useless in Call of Dragons for the majority of players. So again, this is exciting new heroes that most people won't likely use at all because it's just not worth the investment, especially just because they're cavalry. So I'm curious to see a few wells who obviously will level them up and they might be amazing for rallies, and that's it. Which would be good because I don't want to have to spend my tokens on calves anyway. So the worse they are, the better for mage and marksman main. And new feature is going to be this trading exchange house. So this is going to allow people to switch resources into gem or gem into resources. I don't know how much you're going to be limited, but obviously this is going to be a good way for people to get resources that they need and spend gems on them, or sell extra resources they don't need. So interesting to see. And surprise bonus, this is for new kingdoms. If you are playing a new kingdom and this is a patch that's live, you're going to be able to have this event which lets you get a lot of new heroes for free. Obviously, season 1 heroes, season 1 legendary and epic specifically. So for only for new players, this is going to just allow you to have more of the heroes at the beginning. So it's a good change, but just something that is not going to impact the majority of people. So this is the biggest changes of the patch, and we will obviously have more videos going into detail when the patch is live to see exactly what's coming. The thing to take in note, of course, is going to be the new mastery skill switch will be very interesting. The new season building, which might make rally and garrison meta a much more important part of the game without making it the only part, because it's still not flags and fortresses that are rallyable and garrisonable. It's a new building, so it's a lot more manageable than every single building. Like in Rise of Kingdom, every building is garrisonable and rallyable, which means that the entire game is around watching a rally hit for 2, 5, 6 hours while you're reinforcing it every 10 minutes. So it's really, really boring. This, in my opinion, is a better way of doing it. I personally think that spires should have been the rallyable, defendable target, because it would have created something much more interesting. Since you can't have cities beside it, it would make so that open field is necessary to defend it. But, you know, this is another way to do it. Now, lastly, news policies that we talked about. It doesn't seem like there is a new season talent system of any kind, which means that it almost is confirmed at this point that long-range warfare is not coming back. Marksman, long-range, you know, it could come back. There could be other changes, but it's not part of the patch notes, and it's not, there's no new talent system. So unless it's a policy, which it would be weird to be a policy, there is most likely not going to be long-range warfare. So this is going to make very, very different seasons than the last few ones that we've had. So we'll see exactly where that heads. But as a mage main, I can't say that I'm unhappy about this. And the last thing I want to talk about, this is something I'm going to make another video about when it's out, but the PRE-KVK event, which is almost exactly the same as Rise of Kingdom's PRE-KVK event, is going to be coming to the game as well. What is this going to entail? So in Rise of Kingdom, this is similar. It's phases of doing different things. So the first one is PvE. So usually the amount of darklings you kill will give you points, and you can trade those points for some kind of chest reward in the event and gain points for your kingdom that way. Gathering forces, which is legion training. So training, your entire kingdom is counted into these events. So basically, it's a leaderboard. Every kingdom that is in one KvK goes against each other. And then looking at basically how many points is accumulated by each kingdom, you get a ranking. Whenever you rank, you know, at the top, you get buffs for the entire season or the entire KvK. And then the ones who are ranked lower get different buffs, less good buffs. So this is kind of like a way to whale out as a kingdom and show, you know, who's the biggest kingdom, strongest kingdom. So you do, you know, PvE stuff, which is darklings, you do legion training, and then you do resource donation. What you get your personal points and your realm points. The realm with the most points wins some buffs. And like, for example, in Rise of Kingdom, the number 1 kingdom gets 3% damage. So every single player in that kingdom for the entire KvK gets 3% extra damage. And like the number 2 is like 2%. And then there's like a 5% training speed and gathering speed and like little buffs that are good but not as meaningful. So obviously it's very important to get high ranking on there. But it's still a 3% buff. It's not the biggest buff in the world. It's still significant though, of course, especially when rallies are involved. So this is going to be a very interesting event. The one thing to note too is that in Rise of Kingdom, before they nerfed it, this used to be the highest source of reward for money, time, or gem spent by far. The more of this you did, it got you more bang for your buck than any other event in the game in terms of the rewards it gives back. The rewards are like chests that include all of the stuff that you can think about. Tokens, golden stars, resources, speed ups, all that kind of stuff. So we'll see how similar to Rise of Kingdom's event this is. It's the same exact format, as well as in these PRE-KVK event or early KvK event, we also had the event to switch golden legendary statues or tokens into currency of some sort, meaning that if you have expertise, your Velen, he's maxed out, he's awakened, and you have 100 more tokens in your inventory doing nothing, you could turn them into raw sculptures of other heroes, raw tokens you could change for other heroes, like universal ones or resources or gold keys and stuff like that. So hopefully this is also something they introduce in the pre-KvK or the early KvK season, because it's the exact same thing as Rise of Kingdom. So, you know, we would hope so. And then other than that, everything hero is going to be events and new stuff, new heroes. So there's going to be a lot of stuff. We'll cover it all later when it comes live into the game. This was just mostly to give a recap on what I have seen Rise of Kingdom and seeing how many of these exact same mechanics are coming to Call of Dragons. So if you have any questions, I've played Rise of Kingdom since the beta. I've played like dozens of KvKs. I've won the majority of them. So I have a lot of experience. I would be happy to share my feedback and some of the stuff I've seen work or not work in the past. and hopefully we will see some of the stuff be turned into positive changes for Call of Dragons, as there's still a lot of potential to make it better and make it right. Since Rise of Kingdom had a lot of downfalls, if they don't repeat them, there's still a lot of good from the Rise of Kingdom systems. So I am hopeful for the future of the game. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you on my next video.